this is Stalfit, and welcome to the Wrestling Time Post Show. Tonight, Josh, you want to
Hey.
introduce yourself?
Yeah, again, just Josh here. You guys may have seen me on some other channels, but this is my first debut on It's Wrestling Time on your channel, and I'm so excited to be here tonight.
I'm so excited to have you here with me tonight. We're going to be talking about Title Tuesday, which was edition of AEW Dynamite and NXT. So we had a Tuesday night war. It was AEW Dynamite versus NXT.
Yep.
And a lot of things happened. But we're just going to be talking about the main event, the women's matches, and the first 30 minutes of each show. So let's kick things off with this main event. So on the AEW Dynamite side, the main event was Adam Copeland versus Luchasaurus. Adam Copeland making his AEW in-ring debut. And over on NXT, we had Carmelo Hayes versus Bron Breakker, with the winner advancing to a number one contenders match next week, right?
Right.
So give me your thoughts on each of these main events.
Okay, so we'll start with AEW Dynamite or Title Tuesday. I keep wanting to say Edge. I know it's Adam Copeland. So Adam Copeland versus Luchasaurus. It was good for what it was. I think the way they set it up was good. We had Christian Cage coming out before the main event, basically getting in the ring and basically talking about Adam Copeland's wife, saying, look, I'm not going to work with this guy, even though he needs me. I don't need him. It was a good promo, and he always referenced the 3 words, which we can't really say here, the go blank yourself that he had given the line prior week. Basically just telling, Beth Phoenix at home, saying, look, get the sheets ready. New daddy's coming home to her girls. So I thought
my jaw dropped when I heard that.
Yeah. So that definitely was something shocking. And, and they did it right, because I think you had Adam Copeland's music hit, and he just runs out to the ring ready to fight everybody, goes towards Luchasaurus, but then we have Nick Wayne actually go and clip his leg, and then Luchasaurus gives him, I believe it was called the Extinction Clothesline, I guess one of his signature clotheslines. Really, this main event was very much more dominated by Luchasaurus than I expected. I really kind of expected a back and forth type of thing, but it was a lot of, basically the focus was that Christian Cage basically told Luchasaurus to destroy Adam Copeland, not really to win the match at all. Best way I can say it, the match was, for a debut, I kind of expected better, to be honest with you. I really did not expect I want to say a plotting match. It was almost a squash match, really. It was like about 85% Luchasaurus, 15% Edge. Edge, of course, in the end wins. So what they, I think, are starting to tease is Christian Cage comes down and is going to hit Adam Copeland. And basically, Adam takes the title from him, hits Luchasaurus, and throws it back at Christian Cage. Luchasaurus turns around, basically saying, hey, wait a minute, I thought you were my buddy. Basically, they're starting to plant the seeds of Luchasaurus, I think, turning on Christian Cage. Mm-hmm. Luchasaurus turns around, spear by Adam Copeland, 1, 2, 3. Immediately after the match, Nick Wayne runs in, Luchasaurus runs in, they start beating down Adam Copeland. I have to keep saying Adam Copeland. But what's interesting is Christian Cage actually sits outside for a minute, and you can see a little bit of hesitation. Now, I think that's purposeful, because what happens is Bryan Danielson, who had won a match earlier in the night for a number one contendership for the TNT title on Collision, comes out, pushes Christian out of the way, runs in and goes and attacks them. Then the Mogul Embassy, I believe, if I remember correctly, Mogul Embassy comes out, and then Swerve Strickland comes out, Adam Page comes out, the Blackpool Combat Club comes out. Basically, it's a big Donnybrook. It's just a big, giant brawl. The lasting image what you have is Adam Copeland in the background and Bryan Danielson having Christian Cage and the label lock. Say that 3 times fast. To end Dynamite. Pretty good, I think, overall ending. A little interesting they had all these characters intertwined, because, I'm sure there's probably more that I'm missing, maybe context-wise, but it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad for a main event.
Something, I kind of feel like this is setting up for the eventual reunion of Adam Copeland and Christian Cage. They're going to feud with each other, and then somewhere down the road, they're going to reunite, and everyone's going to be happy.
Do you know what reminds me of, kind of, maybe not to the same long-term storytelling, but if you think about Triple H and Shawn Michaels, when Michaels came back, it was an immediate feud. Everybody thought, oh, DX is back, and it took them, 4 years of feuding to finally get to come together. Now, I don't think it'll be that long, but I think it was kind of that sort of Triple H hits the guy with the sledgehammer, cripples him supposedly. I mean, so I kind of see where they're going. I like it. I mean, I like that Christian basically is doing the best work of, I think, his career beyond his third resurgence of his career, I dare say, because, going from WWE to TNA and then back to WWE, which I don't really think he did much there, but I don't know. The main event to me was surprising because the match was not as exciting as I expected.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Now,
it seemed like the crowd was like was just like not hyped for most of the bout.
no, not at all. And I kind of really expected it to be. I think a better main event would have been maybe Edge and whoever the eventual winner was of that match. Again, granted, it probably would have given away Bryan Danielson, but let's just say for argument's sake, they had that set up. You could have had Edge, all right, not Edge, Adam Copeland and whoever else partner versus Luchasaurus and Christian Cage, maybe Darby Allin.
Yeah.
I would have thought that'd have been more of an exciting thing because you could have the two workers work against each other, and then you could have Adam Copeland tagged in, and then Christian Cage come in, and there's the whole tension of Christian runs from him. So I don't know. It was a bit weird for a debut match, to be honest with you.
Let's see. A reunion will happen in a tag title reign before Edge officially returns. Yeah, I think so too.
I agree.
Sorry, Adam Copeland. Yes. I know it's hard to just keep calling. I'm so used to just saying Edge, but he's an Adam Copeland now.
I just want to almost say, like, just call him Adam or Cope or, something like that just to make it, or what is it, Legend or whatever, Legend or whatever he recently just,
we couldn't call him Adam Edge Copeland.
Or just call him Cliff, right? That's what everybody's been joking about on Reddit. Just call him.
Every time someone says Edge, take a drink. We all screwed, right?
I'm already gone at this point.
We'll all be in the ER.
Exactly.
All right. So over on NXT, the main event was Carmelo Hayes, who had John Cena in his corner, versus Bron Breakker, who had Paul Heyman in his corner.
Right.
So,
I mean, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say this match was pretty good. I thought it was, I dare say, a typical NXT match. I mean, but Carmelo Hayes has got something. He's starting to show me a little bit more fire, I think. It is still weird, him being a babyface, though. I don't know why that is. He kind of just de facto became a babyface because he had good matches, maybe, because him and Trick Williams are kind of characters. So it really still in my mind, I'm like, oh, wait, he's a good guy because he doesn't act any different. He still has the whole him aspect. He has the whole, still whatever setup, right? So I don't know. It was kind of a weird thing having him go against Bron Breakker. But then again, Bron Breakker has been killing it, I think, in his hero role. I mean, every time I hear him, though, it's so weird to think he's Rick Steiner's kid because the way he talks like Scott Steiner. It throws me off completely.
That's what everyone says.
Time. Yeah.
It says, great main event on NXT, not huge on Braun. Okay. I honestly kind of felt like Braun is ready for the main roster. I don't know why they're holding him back. What's taking to call him up, but I feel like he's ready.
I think it's going to be probably Braun's. I mean, it depends on what they're going to do. I think them having him with Paul Heyman, I think, is kind of a hint towards the future. Maybe I would hope a collaboration together because, you could work it out. And again, there was a line in there before the main event when Bron Breakker was getting hyped up, working out, that he basically said, I'm going to break everyone in front of me. It doesn't matter who it is. And then, of course, you have the typical Paul Heyman call Roman Reigns line. So Who knows? I mean, I don't imagine him in the bloodline, but I don't know. There's possibility with Breakker. I think Breakker needed this heel turn because he was so stale as a babyface after a while. Because around WrestleMania last year, everybody was like, "Oh gosh, we're so tired of Breakker and so clucky. Like I'm not Goldberg, but I'm also kind of I don't know. I think that I don't like the Breakker line. Just call him Braun Steiner and be done with it because everybody knows his lineage anyways. They've already acknowledged it. You might as well just say it. What's the point?
Yeah. So I have to say, like, at the end when he was calling himself badass, and they teased it throughout the week, they heard every time they passed a commercial for NXT, you heard the chime. The Undertaker comes out, American badass version of Undertaker, and he basically, he says a couple of things to Braun. Did you catch what some of the things that he said to Braun was?
Basically said, you're good, kid, but you're definitely not ready for being the badass of WWE. I'm going to be the one that does it. And he basically sucker punches him, choke slams him, and that's it. I mean, do I say it's a good use of Undertaker? Maybe. But I think, granted, we all know that this has all been reactionary from both promotions that, I'm commercial free. I'm going to be commercial free too, right?
Yeah.
But had this had been set up prior,
all they would have to have had done is maybe 2 or 3 weeks of Breaker being like, I'm the most badass person here. I don't care if you're this person, Undertaker, Rock, whoever, I will kick your... I mean, that's all they'd have to say. And they kind of just... They gave it away too easy. And I mean, again, I was wondering where Undertaker was going to show up. I thought maybe he'd show up with Gacy just to choke slam him. Who knows? Maybe just kind of a tease. But the only problem I have with Taker choke slamming him is you're not going to be able to deliver on anything. Like, I think Undertaker versus Bron Breakker would have been a great match. And if Taker was going to give anybody props, I think Breakker has the strength. And I mean, granted, character-wise, he'd need some work. But it kind of just, I don't know. I mean, they've already had him lose to Carmelo Hayes. So at this point, it's kind of like, well, just go ahead and just put more dirt on him. I don't know. I think it kind of buried him in a way.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I don't know. Well, so where does Bron go from here? I personally, I can't answer that because it's like, again, I don't watch NXT on a weekly basis.
Right.
So it's like, I don't know what feud he would go into next.
Well, he's been kind of in a feud with, he's been in a feud with Von Wagner, and he just recently, like, took out Von Wagner, like, basically putting the steps on his head, crushing it. But again, you kind of have him lose to Carmelo Hayes, and really, I'm sorry, but it kills me to say this, and it's not that he doesn't have talent, but when you look at Carmelo Hayes compared to Breaker and then compared to Taker, he's so small by comparison. It's so strange. Mm-hmm. And it's funny you mentioned the Brian Pillman Jr. promo. I was going to actually mention that here in a minute, but go ahead.
Okay, so since you guys already talk about Brian Pillman Jr., what a dang good promo King was. Do you want to talk about it?
Yeah, so basically for the last couple of weeks, they've had this tease of somebody watching different channels. Like they would flip to Charlotte, Flair, Cody Rhodes, all this sort of stuff, and it would go to different things, and it would go to WCW Saturday Night, and they would be interviewing, and finally they kind of revealed it's Brian Pillman's kid. But strangely enough, it's a good promo. He's right. It's very different what I expected, but he basically said, I don't want to be in the shadow of my father. I'm not a junior. I am my own man, which I like. He said, but I'm going to go by the name of the man that raised me, which the last name was King. And so he said, you'll be seeing me soon. So it was great. It's kind of harrowing, though, when he talks about how I didn't really know my father like you guys did because I was 4 when he died. So, I mean, he said, I have no history besides what I see as a professional wrestler. You'd think I'd hate this. I would hate this profession for what it did to my family. So I don't know. It was definitely a lot better than anything we've ever seen with him in AEW, I think.
Yeah, I definitely do agree. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. I'm just saying by leaps and bounds, it's different.
Yeah, definitely. He didn't get that much promo time in AEW.
No, and I don't think they knew what to do with him. I mean, because when you're a junior, it's hard to not be just a crazy unhinged because, you're just doing what your dad did, right? But he showed some fire. I mean, I guess I get the idea they want him not to have to live up to the Pillman name, kind of like Curtis Axel was the same way. He wasn't called, Mr. Perfect Jr. or, Kurt or, whatever, Henning Jr. But I don't know. It was definitely a unique way, I think, to introduce and have somebody kind of be revealed as the guy, because I think for weeks on you would see a reflection of the guy, but they never give him his name. So
yeah. And Alexis is a tribute to his sister Alexis.
Correct.
Yeah, right. So I like that. Though, if Brian Pillman Jr. was still on AEW, I got a feeling that maybe they would have done something with him and Christian Cage, since he's going around doing with the whole dead dad thing.
That'd have been so bad. I mean, yeah, you're right. They would have. They definitely would have. Oh, another thing, just to go back to the main event, Christian Cage actually referenced the Judgment Day, saying you basically can't take a bunch of he didn't say nobodies, but that kind of is what it seemed like, a bunch of goofs, and make them act like they're tough by dressing them in Halloween costumes. I was like, wow, they actually went there.
Well, Edge was pretty good. Edge, in one of his promos when he was still the leader of Judgment Day, called Roman Reigns an Aquaman cosplayer.
Oh, that was wonderful. Yeah.
All right. So let's compare the first 30 minutes. As we know, the first 30 minutes of each show were commercial free. AEW opened with Christian Cage pretty much, in a suit, and like not in a suit, but like wearing that turtleneck, holding the TNT title, and he was talking about how he credits himself talking about how he got Dynamite to be commercial free for the first 30 minutes.
Right. Loved it.
Meanwhile, he had a goof in a dinosaur costume behind him. The irony. Oh, you're talking about who are you talking about?
About the Halloween costume thing, right?
Oh,
I get
oh
it. Well,
yeah, yeah,
yeah, no, but that's the thing.
yeah,
Christian Cage is so good. He knows that. He knows that. That's why he said it. Because most heels will just say that. And again, I think I watched an interview with Raven, and he said, a heel has to believe what he says, and that's what a good heel does. Even if it makes no sense, doesn't matter. The fact is, you
yeah.
make it makes sense. So
Yes. So and then after that little Christian Cage promo, it kicked off immediately with Bryan Danielson versus Swerve Strickland. Yeah, yep, love Christian. Yeah. Honestly, before we continue here, Christian Cage, I feel like for the first time in his life, well, not for the first time in his career, but like for the first time in both of their careers, they're on equal playing fields because when Edge and Christian were in WWE, it always seemed like Christian was, for the lack of a better word, beneath Edge. Like the priority was always Edge. Christian was just an afterthought, and now they're equal. If you ask me.
I mean, have you ever heard the potential character they were going to go with Christian when he was called the CLB? Vince
No.
apparently did not think he was an attractive man and was
Oh
actually
yeah,
going
I
to
heard
do the
about
whole
that.
blue screen on his face and blur his face out. So poor Christian. He
Yeah.
really never did have anybody in his corner. And I think really they gave him the world title because Edge had to retire. I hate to say that because he deserved it, but his TNA run, of course, was great with AJ and Tomko. I'm still waiting for Tomko to show up in AEW because it just makes sense. Why not?
Yeah. All right. Let's talk about Bryan Danielson versus Swerve Strickland here. I honestly thought this was a really good match, and they kicked things off hot. This was a fantastic match. The crowd was totally into it. The winner of this would face Christian Cage for the TNT title on Collision. And there was a stalemate very early on in this match. And honestly, I have to say, like Bryan, I was a little surprised that Bryan Danielson won here, considering the fact that Swerve Strickland just beat Hangman Adam Page at Wrestle Dream, and he got this huge victory. You would think that he would have won this to lead to the TNT title, but based on what happened with, there was this one spot where Prince Nana, he hands his crown to Swerve Strickland, but Hangman takes it from him. I kind of feel like their feud isn't over just yet, which makes sense, especially since Bryan Danielson won this.
Right. I mean, and I agree. I think that, yes, it makes sense momentum wise, but I think the idea that Page wanted his revenge, and again later on, that played into the match later on about him throwing his crown back to him. So, no, definitely, I think the first 30 minutes of AEW was a heck of a lot better than what NXT offered. NXT had Cody Rhodes come out, announced the men's breakout tournament, announced the Dusty Classic, and that he was the GM for the night. All well and good. Ilya Dragunov comes out, basically to talk to Cody Rhodes, and they set up the idea of Dominic Mysterio versus Ilya Dragunov, and then LA Knight, I believe, if I remember correctly, is the LA Knight, yeah, right, was the referee for that match. So, I mean, in comparison, I was over the Cody promo in the first 5 minutes because we kind of all knew what it was going to be, and I don't know. I don't know. AEW, I think, won this one. They won the first 30 minutes with good wrestling action, and really, I haven't seen much of Swerve Strickland, even in WWE, even with Hit Row, but he definitely gained my respect on a lot of what he did. Not that I think he was a bad worker by any stretch. I don't feel he gets enough character interviews to know, okay, well, who is this guy? Who is Prince Nana? I mean, I know of him, but I don't know him like in terms of promos. So I think they definitely need to go more with Swerve for sure.
Yeah. So personally, Cody Rhodes opened NXT, and no offense to Cody Rhodes, but I kind of felt like I was watching like Raw or SmackDown. It's like they opened up with the promo, which got interrupted by Dominic and Rhea and Isla Dragunov. That's his name?
Yeah.
Forgive me if I mispronounce it. And this whole segment is used to set up the Dominic Mysterio versus Ilya Dragunov for the NXT title with LA Knight, a special guest referee. I was like, okay, you're going commercial free. Give me something that I could stick my teeth into. I was not a huge fan of this opening because it's like it's no different than watching Raw. It's no different than watching SmackDown. You open with a promo, you set up a match, and then what?
Yeah, I mean, and I got my own problems with Cody Rhodes and the story and everything else, right? But I definitely think you're right that it basically was the same thing. It felt like Raw, felt like SmackDown. It didn't feel any different. I mean, really, I kind of anticipated, knowing WWE like I do, usually I expected like some Pier 6 brawl between, I don't know, whether it was Braun Breaker and Carmelo Hayes and
Cena shows up to break it up or something like that. That's what I thought. I really did not expect this sort of just plotting promo. And again, the crowd helped. This is the best way I could say. I feel like AEW as a whole, and again, I'll give my thoughts even more later, but I felt like AEW did good with their talent they had, where it feels like WWE basically and this may be aging me, and I'm sure it is. There was a show called The Muppet Show way back in the 70s and 80s where they would have guest stars, kind of like SNL. And it almost felt like it was NXT featuring special guest stars, this person. But their utilization, I don't think was good. Like having Cena talk to Trick Williams, I just expected a lot more.
Yeah, me too. More. I guess I wanted a lot more from the opening. So I know we got a women's match, but we'll talk about that in the next segment.
Sure.
The 6-man pub rules match, the Gullas versus the Brawling Brutes and Tyler Bate. I actually thought this was a really fun match. Now, I don't know much about the Gullas here, but I was really entertained by this match. I honestly feel like they should have switched stuff around. They should have opened with this match. If they would have opened with this match, I definitely feel like it would have made for a much stronger opening.
Oh, for sure. I mean, look, bring out the APA, say, look, we're going to have us a good old barroom brawl, and then here comes Ron Simmons, damn, and then they'll restart the match, right? No, it was a fun match. It definitely was a match that I think definitely lived up to the hype. Again, it was ridiculous. It was crazy. And you had the spot where all of them were doing 10 beats of Bowen, right? I mean, and it really makes me realize that Tyler Bate probably could easily fit into the Brawling Brute should Sheamus ever disappear, should Sheamus ever not be a part of the group anymore or whatever. I mean, so they've done good. They've done good integrating a top level, I say top level, but a main roster talent kind of group and bringing it to NXT and make it feel natural and not feel forced.
Yeah.
Just like Mysterio, Dominic Mysterio being a part of NXT, they did a great job of making it feel natural. Mm-hmm. Same way.
Okay. So also in the first 30 minutes of Dynamite, we had Chris Jericho versus Powerhouse Hobbs, which a lot of people were surprised that Powerhouse Hobbs dominated Chris Jericho. I mean, I don't think anybody was expecting that. Like, they really made Powerhouse Hobbs look like a freaking monster here. He dominated Chris Jericho here. Nobody expected that. Chris Jericho took 6 spine busters, I think.
Let's put it this way. To me, he is now known as Hobbs-Tista because basically he was Batista when he first debuted. Well, I take that back. Besides being Deacon Batista, the Batista character from Evolution, basically it was Spinebuster, Clothesline, Spinebuster, Beatdown. Hobbs-Tista was great. I am having a hard time buying into him because I'm sorry, and I mean it's I'm not an athlete by any stretch, but it was almost like it was Hobbs-Tista, Spinebuster, plus a little bit of Mark Henry thrown in there with the World's Strongest Slam without naming it, basically. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. I didn't like it. I didn't like the idea that, and they even said this is a world champion. He's being dominated by Powerhouse Hobbs. This dude was running with, what was it? Spray painted like 1990s shirts that you get in the mall on overalls. And now I'm going to buy him as a credible threat. I'm sorry. I can't do it. I just can't. I mean, again, I'm not doubting the guy's charisma. He has something, but for him to dominate Jericho in that fashion. But then Jericho's had this weird thing recently that, like, even when he lost to Ospreay in London, I still hated the ending where he just basically said, hit me with your finisher and just finish this. I hated it because I'm like, well, that doesn't work for me. It just seems like he's just given up, and seems like this match. I mean, yes, he's building Powerhouse Hobbs. I get it. But to basically give it up to him, I don't know. That's like, I can it to like Chris Masters beating up Jericho in that fashion from 10, 20 years ago. You wouldn't see it because it wouldn't make sense. And this didn't make sense to me. Not without him cheating somehow, or somehow Don Callis causing the match to be won by Hobbs.
Well, to me, I kind of took it like they're building the Powerhouse Hobbs, and he beat Chris Jericho, who, like, we know Chris Jericho's accolades are. It's not like he beat some enhancement talent from from whatever city they were in, you know? So that says something. I didn't mind it as much.
I would have expected it more from Wardlow versus Jericho versus Powerhouse Hobbs. Let's put it that way. Okay. Or maybe a Samoa Joe versus Chris Jericho because he's going to go for the world title now. That would have made more sense to me. I mean, again, it's not that I dislike Powerhouse Hobbs. It just was very
Like, wait, now they're pushing him. Okay, that's cool. That's fine. But oh, wait, now they're really pushing him like he's some strong man of the Don Callis family. I don't know. It made me think of Batista when he first was in Evolution. He will get better with time, especially working with Jericho. But I don't know. Again, he's now Hot Batista to me at this point.
Okay. So when I compare the first 30 minutes, I have to give it. I'd say I like Dynamite's first 30 minutes better than I did NXT. I feel like NXT was just throwing a lot of things at the wall to try to like. They didn't give everything stuff time to breathe. It's just like go 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 go. And,
Cash TV.
yeah, and while Dynamite, we got 2 matches. They were both good matches. Like I said, I didn't have a problem with them, so I enjoyed that. All right, so let's talk about the women's matches here, because AEW Dynamite only had one women's match. It was Hikaru Shida versus Saraya for the AEW Women's World Title, and NXT had 2 women's matches. They had Asuka versus Roxanne Perez and Danny Palmer versus Lola Vice. Sometimes they say quality over quantity. And I have to say, I liked Danny Palmer versus Lola Vice much better than I did Asuka versus Roxanne Perez.
Really?
Perez.
Okay.
There was just something about that match that did not, I don't know. It's just like, I feel like that was an okay match. It could have been a lot better. I felt like, first 30 minutes of NXT brought to you by Vince Russo, bro.
Comment of the night right there. Comment of the night to me. Excellent.
I just felt like this wasn't like Roxanne's best match.
Mhm.
They call her the prodigy. She's had some great matches, but I just feel like this was not a good match from her. She pretty much got dominated by Asuka. And I will say, I don't know much about Danny Palmer and Lola Vice, but to me, I like that match a lot better. I think Lola Vice is definitely going to be a star in the future.
I can't say I disliked the Lola Vice match. I thought it was strange if you're going to stack your card. I kind of would have expected it to be at the beginning versus at the end. I get why it's there because they have to have continuity, right? And I don't think that Lola Vice won't be a star, but it was strange. I think had they slotted Cora Jade versus Asuka instead, they would have had more aggression, because Asuka right now is technically babyface, but even though she kind of is just crazy and does what she wants to, it was weird because there was this sort of, I don't want to call it respect, but it was almost like two babyfaces fighting over just respect. It can work, but here it kind of fell flat. I think had they thrown Cora Jade, she could have disrespected Asuka, slapped her, whatever, and they could have been like, oh, Asuka's going to kill you now. I mean, it just was very, I don't know. The aggression from Asuka wasn't there, and the will to fight back wasn't there, because that's what it should be. Really, a main roster person should come down to NXT, easily defeat the person, and it should have been a Roxanne Perez either gets her or almost gets her, and it felt like that wasn't the case. It felt like Asuka just, like you said, dominated the whole entire match. It's like, well, you've killed your prodigy now. At least Cora Jade could take a loss, as she's a chicken blank heel. And I don't know. Again, I just wasn't feeling either match really.
Okay. That's understandable. Like I said, I like Danny Palmer versus Lola Vice much better. But over in Dynamite, we had Hikaru Shida versus Saraya for the women's title. And I actually liked the match. I thought it was a pretty decent match. Shida now is a 3-time AEW Women's Champion. Good for Shida. Honestly, I feel for her because her first title reign, it's the longest title reign in AEW, but she didn't win it in front of no fans. So, I'm glad she's getting these opportunities to, win the title in front of the fans. But I have to say, my one issue with this is I just kind of feel like Saraya's title reign was very lackluster.
It was for London. It was just to pop London huge. I mean, the match was fine. But if you look at how Saraya won the title, she pinned Toni Storm, right? Which basically, Toni Storm's character is such a unique, such a fun thing. It's a joy to watch.
She's timeless.
Timeless, right. And so, see, to me, why she's like she is now is because the fact that Saraya dared to pin her made her lose the match and drove her crazy, which is why she's what she is. So,
Poor Sheeta, unfortunately, is lost in this entire thing because she was champion, lost it, never was pinned. And I guess I get the idea maybe because they don't want Toni Storm versus Saraya because who's the heel, right? But Toni Storm is so over now. I don't think she's going to be booed like people are expecting. I think the character is such a unique character. It came into Bray Wyatt that, yeah, he may get a smattering of boost. She may get a smattering, but I think it's over. I think she's going to be a lot more babyface than people realize because she is so good at doing that character. So
Yeah,
the match was fine.
I like the timeless Toni Storm character. I think she's doing some good work.
Oh, I mean, that's got to be a T-shirt. I mean, every guy in the world is going to wear that tits up. What is it? Tits up, chest out T-shirt or whatever it's called.
Chin up, tits out, and watch out for his shoe.
Right. I mean, I just think that, Toni Storm has come out of the women's division as the number one right now. And, showing so much range that we didn't expect because for a long time, Toni Storm was a good wrestler, but Toni Storm, who is Toni Storm now? We're like, oh, now we know who she is.
Yeah.
So the match was fine, though. The match was fine. I liked when Saraya picked up the kendo stick and basically stuck the hairspray or whatever spray can in her pants and kind of had the referee do it. But in a way, it wasn't needed because if she can't beat her with one, can't beat her with two, I don't know. I kind of get the fighting spirit thing, but I don't know. The ending was a little flatter to me than I expected.
Yeah, okay. She hit her with the Falcon Arrow. She won with the Falcon Arrow.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So between all three women's matches, like I said, I like Danny Palmer versus Lola Vice, and I like Hikaru Shida versus Saraya more so than I did Asuka versus Roxanne Perez.
Right.
All right. So now let's talk about these numbers here that was revealed here earlier. So NXT, the viewership drew 921,000 viewers with a 0.30 rating in the 18-49 demo. The Title Tuesday edition of AEW Dynamite drew 609,000 viewers with a 0.26 rating in the 18-49 demo. So I have to say, like, I am pretty surprised by that, but NXT pulled out a lot. I mean, I feel like it would have said a lot more about NXT using all of those legends if they would have gotten a lower number than AEW, first of all. But you know what? Overall, I thought that it was a great night of pro wrestling for everybody. I mean, whether you watched NXT or whether you watched AEW Dynamite, at the end of the day, I thought Tuesday was a pretty fun show. Now, are you surprised that NXT beat AEW?
No. I figured once they brought out John Cena, once they brought out Paul Heyman and the tease of the Undertaker, it was pretty much over from the get-go. But, I mean, I look at these numbers, and, I mean, I remember reading the dirt sheets of Raw versus Nitro, and it was like 3 versus 4 million people, not even under a million, right? Again, things are different. Now times are different. But the best meme I think I saw was Dominic Mysterio giving a low blow to Edge at Clash at the Castle, basically NXT doing that to AEW. But I think history will show two things. One, that, yes, NXT won the rating war, but I think in terms of quality and being remembered or having a better quality show, I think Dynamite's going to be the one that's going to take the win on this one.
Yeah, honestly, I have to agree with you. I think Dynamite was a little bit better in terms of quality, but I did think that both shows were pretty good. I think they offered something for everybody. I don't know if I'll watch NXT going forward still, right. But it was a nice change of pace, definitely. It was. And like I said, Tuesday was a lot of fun. And I think like I said, the biggest winners were us fans. Over 1 million, I think it was 1,500,000 people tune in to watch wrestling on a Tuesday.
Right. And just the hype alone of, I mean, I'm sure you read all the Facebook comments and Twitter wars of they're fighting each other already. And I mean, I'm seeing quotes of Crimea River AEW fans and all sorts of just craziness that I have not seen that sort of competition. I guess technically you had the TNA Monday Night Wars with Raw, right? But you really have not seen these fans be like, no, AEW is better. Forget WWE. Since the Monday Night Wars originally. And so there's something to be said about who cares if they win, because really the fans win because, again, there was such a hype. I remember being excited watching Mondays and having this Tuesday feeling again, but oh man, somebody's gonna do something crazy that's gonna pull out some shocking thing. Now it didn't happen, but having that feeling again after 20 something, 30 something years, I mean, that's pretty big.
Yeah, like I kid you not, I was watching because I watched Dynamite East Coast time,
Right?
and then NXT. I DVR'd. I was kind of thinking to myself while watching AEW, I was like, oh, what's happening on NXT? I was like legit curious to kind of change the channel. I didn't though, but at the end, like we said, at the end of the day, the fans were the biggest winners. So
yeah, no, it was a great night for wrestling, and I think really,
definitely,
I wouldn't mind doing it again. I mean, again, I know we might DVR and it takes a little bit more time watching 6 hours of wrestling a day, but you have this sort of, what are they gonna do? What are they gonna do now that's gonna try to top each other? And I think the industry needs that now, because just like when Endeavor took over, or TKO, whatever, I shouldn't have expected anything to happen because a corporate merger usually takes time, but I was expecting something a little bit different. And we are getting something a little bit different with Triple H in charge, don't get me wrong, but I expected some sort of definitive, like, this is now the TKO era, we're changing things up. And I still haven't gotten that moment yet where I can tell the difference.
Yeah.
That's what I want to see.
All right. Well, do you have any final comments as we get ready to wrap things up?
I think going out of this, I think AEW has more momentum. I think WWE has honestly kind of booked themselves in a very weird corner, because now when Carmelo Hayes shows up on the main roster, is there still going to be that history with Cena? Is there still going to be history with Trick Williams and Taker and Bron? So Bron, let's say Bron shows up Monday, destroys everybody. Well, he just had a 50, and I think about it from my wife's perspective, as I told you earlier. My wife has no context to wrestling. Her first wrestling show was WrestleMania last year in 38, right? And she was like, who is this? Oh, and I mean, again, she'll probably get heat for this, but who is this old guy on a motorcycle taking forever to get in the ring? So he chokeslams a young guy, and I'm supposed to buy that he can beat, Bron Baker can beat anybody? I mean, it does seem this message. It's a promise I can't do. She will. But, that's the thing. It's out of naivete. But even still, she has a point in that, where do they go? Because now you're making a promise. It's the akinment of Steve Austin and CM Punk always, hinting at a match with each other. It never happens. So really, you're not going to see Bron Breakker versus Taker. I don't think so. If you do, that'd be great. But you've kind of booked him in a weird position. I never like when the legends beat up a wrestler, because to me, I think it hurts their momentum.
Since that was great of Taker chokeslamming Bron.
It was a great visual. Don't get me wrong. I loved the visual of it. I just hate that I don't think we're going to see a continuation of it. Unless Bron just gets mad and says, I'm going to go after all the legends or something now.
What, you turn him into Legend Killer 2.0?
I mean, why not? I mean, well, because think about it. He could go and say, all right, Orton comes back, let's say Monday, Breaker attacks him, says, you're the Legend Killer, I'm going to kill your Legend Randy Orton. I'd be like, okay, their matches would be pretty good, I would think, because Orton can work with anybody. I could buy that, but do you see what I mean? You've kind of promised something, I think, in the fans' minds of, oh, what if Taker could come back? What if Taker's coming back for WrestleMania 40? And when it doesn't happen, you have disappointed fans.
Yeah, definitely. All right, well, you guys, we hope you enjoyed this discussion. I overall, I have to say it was a really fun Tuesday, and just like you, I hope it happens again. I definitely want to see how AEW and NXT one up each other, but let me see what it. NXT was a decent show, 7 out of 10, but Dynamite was better. NXT at the end of the day was a desperate show.
I would totally agree. It was literally, as somebody said, Vince Russo crashed TV.
9 out of 10 for Dynamite. Yeah.
Agreed.
I agree. Yeah, I definitely agree, hands down. I think in terms of quality, Dynamite was a better show. Like I said, I don't know if I'll watch NXT going forward, but hey, this was a special occasion. I had to.
Right. Oh no. Yeah. Especially, I honestly, I wouldn't be mad if Dynamite went back, even if they lost 300,000 viewers. It doesn't matter, because really, I think on the Wednesday Night Wars, I think if I remember, AEW was dominating them for quite a while. So really, why not make them fight them?
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens. But All right, Josh, it's been fun having you on the show.
Yeah,
We definitely gotta watch. We definitely gotta do this again. You know, for those of you who don't know Josh, he's my co-host over on the WrestleManiacs Podcast on A Plus Hero Report. So it was nice that he finally made his debut on my channel. Alrighty then, you guys. Thank you guys all so much for watching and for the continued support. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Make sure you hit that bell so you get notified whenever I go live or release a new video. And I'll see you guys Friday. If not after Rampage, after Friday Night SmackDown.
Definitely.
Bye.
See you.